Governor Raimondo, as you're aware, just outside prior to this week's press conference, the Rhode Island Coalition of Wedding and Event Professionals held what I call an informational picket line. It was quite provocative. Their concerns and needs are, in one way, very similar to just about any industry in the state, yet they're also very unique. They are a significant driver of tourism, and at the same time, because of the going forward nature of deposits and how their business is structured, they are bleeding, in one case, more so than anyone because of the air of uncertainty surrounding when they'll be open to their business, and then the projected lead time necessary for them to even be booked. Their concerns are, number one, that a number of them have yet to receive any of the pause money, but they're also asking for an in-person meeting as well as either a date certain when they can resume, if you will, uninterrupted business, or at least a set of objectives that can be met so that they can inject a degree of certainty into their operations. Yeah. What would you or Secretary Pryor have to say to that?
Yeah, I'll offer overview and then Stefan can offer some details. So first of all, I hear where they're coming from. You are correct in that these businesses, certain businesses, have been disproportionately crushed in COVID, not just in Rhode Island, commercial real estate, hospitality, wedding planners, it's the nature of it. Airlines, we don't have any airlines here, but you're correct that they've borne the brunt of it. That's why, unlike really, I think, any other state or most states, we made our direct relief available to individual sole proprietors who do photography, makeup, florist, and such for events. Having said all of, as it relates to a date certain, I can't give that. I really wish I could, but I cannot give a date certain. Right now, the slide you saw, this is a good-looking slide, which is to say, this is where we were a few weeks ago, and this is where we are now. I can't even think about relaxing regulations until we get to that 5% and until we vaccinate some more people. So I wish I could give a date certain, I can't. I will say that it is my belief, based on everything I know now, that by, late winter, early spring, we're just going to be in a much different place in terms of our stabilization and how many people will be vaccinated. The last thing I'll say is, this is a national crisis. I mentioned airlines, hotels, and I do hope, I think some of this stimulus that we're about to get, we're going to be able to use to help these businesses, and I can promise them I'm going to be as creative as possible to find every penny that I can to get out the door to them. And I hope the federal government does something else, because it's going to be a long recovery for these businesses.
Just to underscore what the governor said about the pause grant program, we are pleased that the governor specifically included event professionals in the program. Over 1,500 checks have now been mailed out or deposits made. Over $35 million worth of pause grants have gone out. And event professionals, including event planners, wedding planners, including photographers and videographers, including makeup artists and beyond, were included in that program. So Rhode Island stands out among states that have, in the midst of those restrictions, nonetheless found the way to provide resources to these event professionals. That said, I'm right with the governor that it isn't enough. We have to do more. Within the past 2 weeks, as to your question about meeting with event professionals, I've met with the organizers of the Event Professional Dialogue and Advocacy. Within the past 2 weeks personally, I've met with them, and I'm actually meeting with them again this week if there's a scheduled meeting with them, and my team has met with them earlier this week. We're continuing to brainstorm in anticipation of the time when larger events are possible. I will say the governor and Dr. Alexander Scott were very kind and thoughtful in allowing for events to proceed post-pause, up to 15 people with pre-scheduled weddings also permitted to proceed. Those are very small. Those are catered events only with specific guidelines. But in the midst of the public health crisis that we continue to be in, it's great. The last thing I'll say is we need to work towards better. That's only a start, even with the financial relief. So one tool is testing. Both the governor and Dr. Alexander Scott have emphasized this. One of the things that we're starting to do in the pop-up testing context is look to individual establishments and individual businesses. And one idea that the event professionals have brought forward is that we'd like to pilot doing testing at a catered event to see if that is something that we can accomplish on the spot, and whether that will give us greater confidence in the future to open up even more.
Okay, follow-up, sir. Are there still checks in process for
Yes.
these people?
Yes.
Is there a date certain, if you will, when they will receive those? And one last question, is the state considering, and would it be projected across all industries, the relaxation or at least the temporary elimination of filing fees, licensing fees for industries that literally need to continue licensing but aren't allowed to operate legally?
I'd say on financial relief for small businesses, we're looking at an array of options, and it would be too soon to say what options are available going forward. But on the question of the additional checks, we have over 2,000 applications for the pause grants, and the remainder of the checks will be sent out. Of course, there'll be a substantial additional mailing of checks on Monday the 28th.
Governor, you said...
I would be open to that. I'm not saying yes, we'd have to work with the legislature, it'll cost money, but I want to be clear that next year is a year of rebuilding, right? 2021 is a year of rebuilding. And I think, like I said before, we need to be as creative as possible, whether that's, relaxing permitting so they can keep doing things outside even after COVID, whether that's licensing fee forgiveness, et cetera. These are all ideas that I'm very open to, because we have to help try to get back on their feet and try to make up for next year some of what they lost this year.